Hi, welcome to the Rittner Floral School in Boston, Mass. I'm Dr. Steve Rittner, and it's a pleasure to welcome you into one of our classrooms today. We've got a neat demonstration for you. I think you guys are really going to enjoy it. The time of the year is Christmas, and one of the things that I really enjoy about doing these various videos is that I get to kind of play with ideas, materials, styles of designing, things like that, that I've always wanted to do. And this one is especially close to that because Christmas means many different things to many different people. For some, it's winter sports. For others, it's going out into a quiet, secluded area and being in a little Christmas house. For others, it's Santa Claus. For others, it's Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. There's so many different elements to this holiday that are really, really neat. And one particular area that I've never played with in a demonstration that I've always wanted to is the concept of the sled. The sled. Now, there are different kinds of sleds or sleighs during Christmas. There is, of course, something like this, which is Santa's sleigh, and there's a whole slew of ideas that we can play with symbolically with something like this. Then there's the little sled that maybe you played with as a kid going down a hill as part of winter. All of these things are really, really neat. And I came across this little container, and I think it's a really, really neat one. I've got the container, a little bit of foam in place, and I thought it might be kind of fun to play with this today in terms of showing you how you can decorate something like this with flowers and use it as part of your holiday. So I think you're going to really enjoy this particular demonstration. The thing I like about this container is it has the kind of colors of the holiday, it's small, and it's really, really easy to use. And what we're going to do is we're going to start off on this container by taking some of our evergreen materials, because we have so many great things available at this time of the year. We have the balsams, we have the firs, and these things are readily available and we can use them to come up with all kinds of ideas. Now, one thing that I could do on this design would be simply to make it into something kind of a moundy shape and then work things in through it. But I'm going to play with it a little bit differently. I'm going to use some of my evergreens to create almost like a shape on this. And I'm going to play with the shape of my container here and work some of my materials around it so that we're really kind of coming up with something that is going to be what I would call a little bit more of a one-sided piece. A one-sided piece. In other words, there'll be a front to this and a back, where we're going to take some of our materials and create a little arrangement, which means this would work very, very nicely as part of our Christmas displays. And the thing that I like about it is doing something like this is really, really quick. It's easy. It's fun to do. You'll notice I'm just taking my evergreens, my balsams, my firs, and I'm just breaking them down into small pieces. It's not taking me very long. That's the beauty of this kind of thing. You can come up with an interesting design and do it relatively quickly, relatively easily, and no muss, no fuss. That's the beauty of it. Now, in coming with some of my pieces towards the front, I do have to keep them small, and I also have to be careful because while I am sticking some of my evergreen materials into the front of the design, I don't want to come out too far, and I don't want to cover up my little sleigh. Incidentally, as I'm using these things, one of the things I am doing is taking a little of the needles off so that in that way it goes into my foam a little bit easier. So notice that I have something that's kind of giving me an interesting shape in terms of my sled. I'm showing the sleigh, and at the same time I'm working it in an interesting kind of shape. Now, I can use any kind of material in this, but one material that I kind of like to use at this time of the year, of course, is our bells of Ireland. Why do I like bells of Ireland? Well, they're certainly not a traditional Christmas material, but they have the appropriate color. They're green, and they work very, very well in terms of Christmas displays. And I can use my bells of Ireland to create linear kinds of shape. And that's exactly what I'm going to do here. I'm going to take some of my bells of Ireland, and I'm going to essentially use it to accentuate the shape that I've already created using my foliage. Notice I've got a piece that's working over there. Now, this is a little bit long, but what I can do, and one of the beauties of our bells, is I can take this timber and break it down and then use a piece that's kind of coming out over here to one side. So I can play with the concept of different kinds of shapes on this. Now the part that I just broke off, I can then take and then use over here. In other words, I can take only a few pieces of this amazing stuff and come up with really an interesting kind of pattern with my materials. Now I'm going to take another piece that I've just broken down and I'm going to follow right here. So notice that I started with my foliage to create my overall parameters on this design. Then I've taken my bells, worked it here, 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 and over here, and that gives me a pretty good kind of thing to play with. Now I'm going to mix some of my foliages together. We're using some of our balsam firs on this design, but also at this time of the year we have other things like, this is an amazing material that I just love to play with, some of our boxwood. It comes available at this time of the year. I wish we could use it at other times of the year, and there's no reason why we shouldn't be able to. The problem is that it has essentially the association with Christmas and with the Christmas season, so we tend to think of these things as being materials primarily for the month of December and January, and then we really don't use them. But they are such wonderful materials, and notice that I can use this very, very quickly, small pieces, to fill in the space very, very nicely for me. Now, at this point, let's start taking some of our flowers, and of course, we've got the entire world of flowers to play with, and if I'm going to play with my green, maybe I should start playing with some of my reds, my pinks, and do that. I'm going to take, of course, one of our favorite flowers, which is the rose, and I'm going to place a rose over here. I'm going to place another rose coming over here in towards us on this side. In other words, notice how I can take some of my roses and come up with a very, very pretty effect indeed on this. Now, in working with my rose, I've got a piece here, I've got one over here. Let's work in towards the center. And in working in towards the center, I have another rose here. And the beauty of this particular family is they've got so many wonderful varieties and things out there. This is a rose that has kind of a greenish tinge, a very, very light greenish tinge around the outside. It has a pink in the middle and kind of a beigey-ness around it. So it's really a very, very subtle flower, but there are so many different roses out there that you can get at this time of the year and throughout the year that you can play with on these things. And the beauty of this is that we can get these materials, play with them, come up with some really, really cool effects. It's quick, it's easy. And as all of you are quite aware, my whole philosophy is that floral designing should be quick, easy, and fun. And so I'm using some of my roses, my viewer, to achieve that effect. It works very, very nicely. It gives us a very, very rich effect to our design. Now be aware, we're doing this with natural materials, but we could also do something like this with our permanent botanicals as well if we wanted to. And certainly that would also give another different kind of slant to our use of these materials at this time of the year. So I've got my roses coming down here, coming over here, coming over in here. I'm going to work one more of my roses in here, and I'm going to keep it in fairly low, and I'm going to place it over onto this side. So notice, my viewer, how I've got one more flower over there. I've left the center here a little bit open, and I could, if I wanted to, add some of my roses to that as well. However, instead of doing that, that's a focal point. It's kind of the spot to which all of the linear sections of this kind of come together. And so to emphasize this, what I'm going to do is use some of my millimeter balls, our glass balls. These glass balls or ornaments come in so many different colors. They come in different sizes. We can get them in gold, we can get them in silver, in green, in red, we can get them in blue. They're really kind of fun to play with. They are glass, so if you handle them, you do have to handle them carefully because they do deserve the kind of respect that glassware generally does. But notice, my viewer, that with just a few of my millimeter balls clustered, added to a few picks, how that fills in very, very nicely for me. Now I could stop at this point if I wanted to, my viewer, but wait, there's more. We can play with this a little bit more because it is a sled and because it does have that kind of sleigh effect which has the the connotations and the kind of association with Santa and his bag of goodies and the reindeer and all of that stuff that we associate with the holiday, we could leave this way, or we could do other things with it. We could take little packages of gifts that they have that are little picks that have picks and work it in. We could work a Santa into this, or Santa type little gizmos in there. One of the things that I'm going to play with instead is, how about the concept of a reindeer? Because you can get these little reindeers at this time of the year as well. And by taking a little reindeer that we found in a craft place, we can take it, put it in here like so, and have our reindeer in front of our sled. What do you think, my viewer? Quick, easy, and fun. This kind of design could be used very effectively on a mantle. It could be used on a sideboard. It could be used in a bay window. It could be used in an entry area. This is the kind of thing that would work very well in a reception area. These things are quick and easy to do. They're fun to do. And it brings up another different aspect of the Christmas holiday. Well, my viewer, I hope you really enjoyed this quick video. We hope you enjoyed it. As you can see, quick, easy, and fun, the Rittner Floral School way. On behalf of all of us here at Rittners Floral School, I'm Dr. Steve Rittner. We thank you for coming in and visiting with us, and have a very, very happy, a safe, and wonderful Christmas season. Thank you for coming in and visiting with us today.